What's up, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this episode of In the Trenches. Our guest today is a longtime friend of mine and ASC certified DP. He started off shooting music videos in Nashville, then moving to LA, transitioning to television and feature films. But I want to remind y'all, please like, share, and subscribe if you're digging the content. So let's jump right now into it with Blake McClure.
What were our phone calls called? Not inspirational phone calls, but like our pep calls.
Pep calls, man. Always before the shoot, right? We had. I remember the one clear conversation I remember was Luke Bryan's truck video, and we were at PM the night before the shoot, and you were struggling with how to convince Sean how to get some back red lights on, convincing him motivated through brake lights and stuff like that. And I think you won that fight.
I was just talking about that video because there was some weird like flare that happened in the top of the frame. I don't know if it was like, because we shot 3-perf, which is normally like a 2-perf problem. Mm-hmm. But I remember Sean being pissed about that.
Yeah.
There's something that you didn't really see on the camera. I didn't see it in the viewfinder, but it like flared through the frame, and he was just like, oh man, I didn't want that to be there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's film too, so you're getting. Was it film?
It was.
Yeah, so you're getting that. It's blurry. Anyway, let's get going. Thank you for coming by, bud.
Yeah, man.
So we got you a few days before you head back to the big bad city of Los Angeles, but we got you for a few more days here in Nashville, right?
Been talking about it for almost a year.
I know, man. Well, you were almost like one of the first phone calls I told we were going to do because I wanted to get you on. And then we switched up the idea. You know, we were like, we did a few episodes and it was like, it's way too good being just one-on-one. And we didn't want to do any like Zooms. Zooms crushed it. So we're still trying to plan an OG sessions where I go to LA and just kind of get all the guys, you know, and the people that I know.
What number is this?
Well, this
70,
would
60,
be
70, 50?
50s. We're in the 50s right now,
cool.
Which is pretty fun. The hard part was, man, we have not missed one single episode. 1 week.
Are you serious?
We have not missed 1 week at all.
Awesome.
Even through touring, and scheduling. Scheduling is the hardest part. You know, I don't think everybody's been like, yeah, I'd love to do it. It's just getting the schedules to do it. But on that note of schedule, thank you so much for squeezing this in.
Of course. Before
we get together tonight, right? Are we going to get together with the homies?
Yeah, you coming over?
Yeah, I'm going to try. Where is it? East?
Southern Grist.
All right.
Yeah, just every time I come back to town, I want to see everybody, and I end up seeing no one.
I love what you did. You're like, look, I'm going to be here at 6:30.
So I just blasted out the friends that I wanted to see, and I was like, hey, we'll be here.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, because it's I have a 3-year-old now, and it's hard to see people. Like you want to spend every minute here with family.
Yeah, and you to let the viewers and listeners know, you and I met and have worked when you lived in Nashville, and you were the first person really I met when I moved here, because you were a director with Potsy the Brads at Tackle Box Films with Sean Silva, and Sean kind of brought me over from LA, or convinced me that it would be a good decision. And so I want to bring up some of those memories.
I remember you walking into the office the first time. You had dirty long hair. It's like, oh, who's this dude? Being slightly jealous, being like, I don't know, man. And then I saw the videos that you did. I was like, this is pretty cool. This guy's got some, good history that I could maybe jump on and latch from, learn from. And
it was a fun time, because I mean, there was an innocence or something. I don't know what it was when I first moved here. It was like I was helping you guys on your sets, and just kind of, we would hang out, and it was a really, really special time in my career, because it was something that I hadn't had maybe ever, or in a long time.
Yeah, I'd say
that
the same.
Communal bond.
Yeah, it was pretty the golden era.
It was.
For sure.
You know, you remember you had that office over in the Cummings building?
Which one? Oh, the Brad's office.
The Brad's office.
Yeah.
That nasty detectives looking thing.
With the old green couch that we bought at Goodwill.
Oh, but you know what was so great about that time? we would all meet. It was like our place. We would just meet, but we were all bidding on jobs, and we were all just kind of like helping each other creatively, but also just waiting for those phone calls to say, "Did I book it?" And we would go. Remember that?
Oh yeah, that was a pivotal part of my life, because that was when I was, like, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know if I wanted to be a director, or I was an editing major in college. Cinematography sort of just kind of stumbled into my lap, I guess, per se. Like, it's the thing that I latched onto. And then that was when you came into town and I started shooting your videos. Like, it was one of those things where it changed basically how I felt about cinematography and like how I saw it. And yeah, it was like a competitive time in our life. Like, there were friends, like Wes was a director, and Sean Silva, all that stuff. And like, I was writing treatments and then also trying to shoot those same videos.
Well, if
so
you
it became kind of a weird, awkward moment for some people. And
it was one for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I vividly, because you were very adamant. You're like, hey man, when am I going to shoot some of your work?
Yeah.
And we were just really hanging out a lot. And at some point I was like, when you're not a director. You know what I mean? It was a weird thing.
It was.
Because I remember on Jason Aldean when I did Relentless. And
that's the one in the motel room?
Yep. And I hired Dermot Downs.
I remember that.
And but that was, I think my next job was you. I think it was just like, comfort, Dermot. You know what I mean? But I think maybe I should have used. I do. Because you were like, God,
I love that video. I mean, I love the
I know.
color
You're like, hey, that
tones.
red light, that's a little saucy. And you told me that after the shoot, and I'm like, God, it is. It looks like it's right on his face.
I probably did it just to jab at you. That reminds me of a red light that you mentioned, that something that Chris Probst did. I was like, this is so cool. You told me that he lit a shot in the back of a car with like the red of a slate. Did you tell me
yes, that? He's done so many wacky
like he
things.
needed some light, so he like opened the slate and got the red numbers and like put it right next to the girl's face.
God, he's done.
That dude is so smart.
Probst. I mean, I can go into stories of. I mean, I can't wait to get him on the podcast. But yeah, I mean, we lit him, just to tell you how nutty he is. We would light mixing boards for a video, and he would have tens of little.
You've told me about this before.
Yeah, little. What is it? Tinfoil and
things. Yeah.
Tinfoils like in between the knobs, so that it had just the right amount of backlight. I mean, it was like he was lighting jewelry. Anyway, it was but anyway, yeah. So we have done some cool videos, you and me though.
Yeah.
Carrie was asking. She's like, "You know
should
that?
have our resume in front
I
of
know
us,
we've done so many great ones. I mean, I don't know where to start, and I'm just tickled that we haven't talked this way in a long time. Actually, probably the last time was dinner with you, me, and Scott Cunningham in LA. Remember that? That was a nice. We had
where
sausage place or that down in Santa Monica,
Verskucha or whatever like that. Verskucha.
Yeah, we just nerded out on tons of DP talk and industry talk.
Crazy. Yeah, that was back when he was a producer. Probably.
Now he's wait, hold up. We got royalty in this room. We got royalty. We're not just talking to Blake McClure anymore. We're talking to Blake McClure. ASC. What's up, dude? That's
pretty cool.
Now that's really cool because I know so much of your story. Like, are you still using Coen Brothers as references? I bet, or I mean, you've been so influenced. Are you still like rocking with their?
You mean as like visual references?
Yeah. You were just like everything was Coen.
Yeah, it was for a long time. I was obsessed with those guys. I mean, I would say they were like ingrained in my work. I don't know though.
Do you think music videos helped you gain a certain kind of toughness to prepare yourself for the episodic world,
100%.
long form world that you're in?
Music videos, 100%. Like, music videos were the ground, the starting grounds, like the basement, the foundation.
But you also knew you weren't going to end in videos. You knew you loved them. 100%. You loved them, and you gave your soul to them. But you always had you had an end game beyond videos.
Never in my wildest dreams did I ever consider like staying here and shooting music videos. Nothing against that, but
no, of course not. No,
it was just for me, like I made a decision early in my career to stay here and like work here, me in Nashville, and start my career and shoot videos here instead of going to LA and working as an assistant or whatever my way up. I basically just segued straight from film school into shooting shorts and EPKs and stuff. And yeah, I spent the better part of my, first part of my career here. I moved to LA when I was 31, I think. It was not the end goal, but neither was TV. And that's where I'm at now. It's like always, I think we're always reaching for the next biggest thing.
Yeah.
And I just stumbled into TV, just like I stumbled into cinematography. Like it was just something that you see and like I saw and grabbed, and I was like gravitated towards and loved and obsessed over.
Well, the interesting thing was, I know we've talked in depth about like the direction you wanted your career, your visuals to go. If you had that control, remember this is years and years ago.
Yeah, no,
right?
That's the call. We would have this call like every 6 months.
And it was like, hey, homie, I'm getting hit up for a lot of this comedy, and rightfully so. You got Drunk History, Saturday Night Live, Super Zeros. You did some comedy things, but what I remember from our conversations were, you had this real theatrical sense about how you wanted the light, or just what you see, and you were worried if you were doing comedy, I guess, justice. Am I pushing it too far? You know what I mean? Remember that?
Oh yeah.
It was like, it's just too theatrical or too suspenseful or whatever you want to call it. Too cinematic, I guess, is really what it would be for comedy. But I was like, dude, that's your card.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. I mean, you're giving like Drunk History something like it needed that, because it needed that contrast where it was like, it felt so cinematic on, I'm sure, a budget, and that had to have come from videos, right?
Yeah.
Just that building blocks to where you are now. Now I believe you're lighting like a damn Renaissance painting, and I'll get into that. But like,
yeah, no, we were always scrappy, and we had to be scrappy here in town. That's where we figured it out. Like here's $60,000, go shoot a video. And of course, we were always trying to do the biggest. Like we were always trying to shoot film. We were always trying to be silly. Like I remember we used to like ship in anamorphic lenses from LA. Nobody was shooting anamorphic back in. This was like 2003 or 4. Anamorphic had kind of dried up. You could get a lens from Claremont for like $150 a day, maybe $75 a day. I remember calling the dude and he was like, "What are you doing?"
Just anything.
We would just put the money on the screen. We would.
Yeah.
And that's where we learned so much. Like,
hey,
we can do so much for so little.
We also learned to maybe we need to back off of some of that flair.
We would always fly to LA. Like we'd fly to LA color with Hussey.
Yeah.
That was like,
God, that was just,
I did at least, I don't know, 15 videos with you flying to LA color. We'd meet up. We'd eat at Swingers right there in Santa Monica.
Yep. No different than what I did when I lived there. I mean, I did probably damn near 80 videos with Hussey, and it would be the same thing, just go get Swingers, get your little breakfast burrito and head over to your session. Oh, I tell
that story all the time. Yeah. I mean, same thing. Like last time I worked with Hussey was with, on The Dropout. He colored that up there. Sorry, that series. I did a couple episodes.
Wow.
That's the last time I worked with him.
Really? Is Company 3 still in the same building?
No, they got rid of that building. They have a nice building that we actually, the show that I'm shooting now is in Hollywood, and they have a Hollywood office there on our lot, which is amazing. It's like feels like old Hollywood. So we're like shooting a show, and then like I can go break, like during lunch, I could just walk over to the post house and check stuff out if I have to.
I remember, knowing your work and how much do you, in your new work, in your series and stuff, do you build in color beforehand?
Oh, 100%.
Color is huge to you.
Yeah. So like on Drunk History, that was the sort of the first and biggest and most exploring that I did with color. Like live grade was a thing that DITs use, but a DP friend of mine, I think it was Pierre Gill, possibly, showed me his setup. Basically, we didn't have DIT on Drunk History, and he ran live grade like a DIT on his laptop just for the monitors overlay. And I was so fascinated. I was like, what are you doing? This is incredible. Because I was obsessed with color. You're the one that got me obsessed with color. So every episode of Drunk History, which was every day was a different episode. I had a different LUT. So I downloaded some pre-built LUTs from, websites that you could buy them for, $3. And then just build on top of that. every day. So like the beginning of my day was the first shots being set up. And I would furiously like try to build a LUT and build my color palette on the fly.
So that's one of your main processes out of the gates is to...
It has to look exactly what I want it to look like for my brain to process it. So like Rec 709 on the monitor, just throw it out. Like that's the worst color space. I don't even know why we're still using it.
Do you have your own monitor?
I don't. I'd never bought my own. No, I'd never bought my own monitor.
Wow, I can see Scott.
It would make sense, but like for this show, the show that I'm doing now, we're monitoring HDR, which is a fairly new thing to monitor on set. We have this awesome like Flanders. It's as big as this table, 55-inch Flanders monitor. It's the only one in the country, and it is like quad split, so you can have like Lord, 4 HDR images on it. Yeah, it's pretty slick. Yeah, I mean, you know, like no, I stick with brands typically. It's typically not Flanders. Sorry, Flanders. It was Sony, but this monitor is pretty sweet.
Do you feel like color is a part of your signature look? I mean, as part of your brand, you know what I mean? A part of what you offer. I mean, you can't.
Yeah. I mean, this is a whole hour conversation right here.
Let's go. Color is, I mean, there's no rules. I look at your work and I've seen it grown, and now I see where you light, where I see DPs that light with broad strokes, and maybe they broad and they work in, but I really feel like your work has become, and I've said it, it's very Renaissance-y. It just feels like a painting. And why is that? Because I feel like where I want there to be a little kiss of light, there is. But right off of that, I want it to pull into a little bit of shadow. You know what I mean? I want mood into it. So I feel like you're putting lights delicately, kind of like what we were saying earlier about Prost, you know, with those little things. It's a part of your style or your interest. It's got to, you know, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely that. Interestingly enough, though, like the TV that I'm in right now, that I'm on, it's. I feel like it's become a game to light a set with lights off the set, if that makes any sense. So like nobody wants gear on or around the floor.
Freedom to move.
Yeah. So that's been, you know, like I look at like my career as chapters, and I feel like the chapter that I'm in now is like, how can I get what I want out of this and give the actors the freedom and time and space to move, you know, in the set. And it's tricky. It's really hard.
Because there's a balance, right? I mean, you can obviously step on your work, you know, put things in to make it real shine, right? But you got to know that discipline where that's going to interfere with blocking or, you know, exploration.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different on this show because it's, you know, the show that I'm shooting now is called All's Fair. It's like 5 or 6 leading ladies. So like every medium shot close up has, you know, a lot of detail and attention.
Yeah. I just think that's
a lot of fill light.
Is that style or whatever? I mean, that's important to you. You can easily not do that. You know what I mean? Your eye sees those things where you want to put light. Because I've done so many jobs where that's not the case. And I just, it looks great. It looks, is there a sense of, you know, putting a little style of you in it versus it being more into it, you know, it's like Fincher in a way, you know, like
back to color. I think that's where my style lies, is like building the LUT in advance. This is where I sort of like laughed a little bit or sort of snickered at that, this comment or the coloring discussion that could come up on this is like the way people view colorists is maybe different than the way I view it. I came up before colorists really existed. Like, yes, there's always been timers and there's been people that printer lights and stuff, but like in the music video world, they were less artists than they are now. And a great colorist will elevate, skyrocket your work like through the roof. They are artists.
Absolutely.
But they aren't all artists, just like DPs aren't all artists and directors and everybody else. But a lot of them think that they are. So like, I like to sort of head it off and like I look at colorists as sort of they're the film makers as the stock makers. Okay. They make our stocks is how I see it. So you sort of buy a LUT
Okay.
from a colorist. This is like my theory.
Like a stock of film or something.
Yeah. So you're looking for a specific look. You look like in me, I have one of my best friends is a colorist. And we've done a lot of shows together, but I've sort of since had not been able to use them recently. And I've sort of opened up another part of that world where I see it as this like, oh, I'm buying this person's look. You know, because it's a certain contrast. Like it's what I like, you know, like we always light the way we light. I've always, I mean, Super Zeros was 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
With no money. And I still light the exact same way now on a, you know, huge budget TV show. Same with the contrast. Like I am not going to like let a colorist sell me their LUT. That's like contrast different than what I like, but they will do things that I'm just like, oh, like, oh, how did you do that? Mm-hmm. They're magicians. They can be magicians. Mm-hmm. So it is important that is built 100% in the beginning. Because I mean, it's like the shows that I'm doing now, like they will not let you change the look drastically. Yeah. I've done a handful of shows where I was able to do that. Like I was able to.
AP Bios, right? AP Bio, that
was the same thing as Drunk History. I had live grade on my laptop. So back to that. I'll set this up. Live grade was my thing. So 7 years or so, I called the union. I was like, this is something I can do. I'm not going to get grieved. They're like, no, totally. As long as you're not making anything for post or doing anything like, you know, clip wise. I was like, no, it's just a monitor overlay. I save the LUT, CDL or whatever, and I send it to post. They're like, totally fine. So AP Bio was the first big network show that I did. I didn't want to do network. It's not a thing that I ever wanted to do. One of my good friends, best friends, directed this pilot and he convinced me to do it. So the first day of shooting, the network was there. It was like a commercial. You have your network tent. You have your EP tent. You're just like, what are all these villages here for? This is crazy. I'd never done anything this big. And same thing. First setup, I got these LUTs sort of built in my mind, and I started applying them. And I'm like, I don't like that because we're on the set. It's like a high school down in Long Beach. And I find something that works for the palette of the space that we're in. You know, like it's the colors that the school existed. And I started messing with it. I had to apply to CDL, and I do stuff that you're not supposed to do, like colorists and VFX artists are just like, absolutely not. Don't do that. Like keying colors. Like I'll do like, it's stuff you're not supposed to do with live grade.
Sure.
Whatever. So I did this and I showed Oz, the director, and I was like, hey dude, what do you think? He was like, I love it. And then I was like, I don't know. It's pretty extreme. Could get us fired. But it's just it's just an overlay.
Sure.
I was like, so would you want me to show? So he's like, oh man, I love it. And you know, a couple of days goes by, the EP Village is happy. And I was like, man, they're loving this. Look, this is crazy. They had been looking at log the entire time. They were commenting on how good it looks.
Oh no, hey, hit that button. You're going to be like, woo.
And I was like, oh man, this is going great. They love this. They were looking at log. I went by there and looked at their monitors and it was log. I was so embarrassed. I was like, this is so crazy. So what are we going to do? Thankfully, one of the EPs of the show, Katie at Broadway Video, she had our back and she was like, this is great. Because we were doing stuff like we called it Dead Mom's Apartment, which is where Glenn Howerton's character lived. He lived in his dead mom's house or her apartment. I did stuff with that. Like I grabbed the oranges and the reds and I keyed them and I lifted them and it's like gnarly, like crazy saturation. And it made their lips all weird. But I knew I would go in final color and grab the lips and put it back to normal. But for all the dailies, it was like freaking eggplants and like bright red lips.
Now you also had, you know, like any good DP relationship with art director, you know, you were able to work together on many of your shows. Or it's pivotal to getting your palette. I shouldn't even say it's a must for you.
What's crazy it is. But what's crazy on that show specifically, the school colors were gold and blue, royal blue. But the LUT that I was using made all the blues cyan. And
I like that.
And it was a big discussion. And I was like, well, I mean, we can always put it back to blue in final.
Cyan gave it
And I thought for the longest time we were going to do it because I felt bad. I was like, it's actually been, it sparked conversations like now that I'm in the ASC, like I'll ask DPs, I'm like, how did you guys do this with how do you do this with, you know, Scorsese or whoever, you know, like, what are you doing? How do you, cause the DPs as a DP, we are sort of in the Wild West. We don't have to like make pitch boards, although that's changing. And you see like production designers, like to get the job or like once the job started, they'll have to make a pitch board and they'll go in and I got to sit in on one for a pilot that I did, and it was for Fox, and there was just like 20 executives, like all suits. And I was just sitting against the back wall, just watching to see how it went down. Production designer does it. The art director does it, or not the art director, but the art team, costumes, hair, makeup, wardrobe. They all have it. DPs have never done it, which is great because I hate talking in front of people.
Yeah,
I don't want to present anything, to anybody. Like it's just crazy.
But you do have a good prep presentation though, because you don't step into it.
Yeah. So that's slightly changing. Like we're having to do little mood boards to show and get signed off on. But back to that, the LUT changed everything, and I was like, holy crap, this is insane. I'm changing the production designer's work. I talked to him and he loved it, and the executive producer loved it. We went back to blue and final just to see what it looked like, and everybody was like, "No, it's terrible." But that got me thinking, like how are bigger films done? Like film stocks. You're testing. Production designers on a show for months and months before DP is hired, and a lot of times.
I was going to say you're then. What you're saying is your look is going to be dictated possibly by that art direction.
Right. So back in the film days, when a DP came on, they would do film tests. And I mean, who knows? A few weeks before they start shooting, I don't know how many weeks they're doing this in advance, but like that stock is going to change the palettes. And is that ever discussed? Does DP just have carte blanche? Do they just do it? Because there's some freaking production designers that are rock stars, especially in the Scorsese world, and those like. You're not changing their work without their exactly. But we get to kind of do, like it's crazy. We kind of just do this, and we do it on the day, which is bizarre. Like DP's just like, this is what I'm doing. It's getting a little harder now because everybody has a monitor. Like everybody has Q-Take. You're familiar with Q-Take?
No, but I'm just listening to you, and I'm imagining the Blake that left Nashville, and I'm like, man, how has the transition been from can you go back 10 years longer to like when you moved and now what you've learned? Look at you now. I remember you like, I don't know what agent, I mean, or the agent battle that you were dealing with.
I still deal with that.
Do you?
Nothing's changed.
Man.
Nothing has changed.
Well, shoot. I've been hoping that you've now cruising, you're hitting that pipeline now.
Dude, I was just thinking the other day, like, do I even need an agent? Like,
oh yeah,
seems like a waste of money. I get all the jobs I've gotten every single job of my own myself.
How has being an ASC DP changed? Have you seen it affect budgets or how people want to hire you?
Absolutely not. I thought it would a long time ago, I guess.
You hoped it would.
I hoped it would. I remember like working here as a PA, and then some ASC coming into town. I forget DPO who it was, and they were like, "Yeah, his rate's so and such a day." And I was like, "Whoa, like that's an ASC rate? That's crazy."
Yeah.
I think those days are done. I mean, there's definitely respect with ASC, and it's insane. Like it's a huge honor and great responsibility. Like it's crazy that I'm a part of it. I never, ever, ever, ever thought I would become a part of it ever. It's just insane.
It's amazing.
But being in it now, I'm just like, this is cool, and I see it, and I'm sort of like trying to take it in as much as possible. I started a Discord channel for the ASC.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Really just selfishly because I wanted to communicate with these. I mean, it's like, it's supposed to be a club, it's the American Society of Cinematographers. It's a clubhouse, but it's kind of hard to interact with other DPs. And that's all I want to do. Those are like my gods. Like, I want to talk to so-and-so. So I started a Discord and got it approved and sort of manage that Discord now. And now not everybody's on it, but we've got 100 and some odd members, and now I can just like ping a member if you need get a question, put it on the channel.
That's cool. Yeah, the clubhouse is I remember doing the master class with Scott Cunningham. We really just did it.
Did you do it?
I stayed at your house.
You were doing the master class then? I totally forgot.
Yeah. You want to hear some as you were talking about the
I remember
club?
Scott did it.
I was with him.
I didn't know you did.
We did it to hang, just to be together.
Cool.
But a story that I don't think you know. I definitely don't know now. I got massive flu, 24-hour flu bug on one of the days. Anyway, I didn't want to miss the day, so I left your house that morning. You were on a job or something. You went, and I went to the clubhouse, but I'd already thrown up 4 or 5 times at your house, right? Just sick, nothing, and I parked my car at the clubhouse, and it was like, there's a meeting going on. All the the students are in there, and I'm getting sick again, dude. And I have to run, that you can run around that back hallway and in. Mm-hmm. I barely got to the bathroom.
Oh,
I
God.
projectiled all over the bathroom wall, and I was sitting
You
there.
left your mark.
Left my mark on that. I had to sit there and clean it up.
Oh, God. It's all white. It's
It's all white
white
and,
tile.
oh God. But that was I thought of that, but why? But I get to talk to some insanely amazing DPs.
I mean, I get to audit any master
it's
class that I want
crazy.
to.
Oh,
Any class I want to go to, I can go to, which is insane. It's so crazy. It's like bizarre. It's just nuts.
do you are you have you run into Cronenweth and Kanji?
I met Kanji for the first time. Yeah, during the last awards.
I think that's all you and I would talk about is David Fincher,
yeah,
lighting,
for sure.
Just Kanji and Cronenweth.
I went up to Kanji and
Claudio
and introduced myself. I hung out with Claudio a little bit. Had dinner with him at Rachel Morrison's house.
Jesus.
So I live in a neighborhood called
wow. That's a big on top of big.
I live in a neighborhood called Mount Washington. It's a little hill in sort of the northeast side of LA.
The new house, the one you built.
Yeah. And there's a lot of DPs that live there for some reason. I'm not sure. It's just like draws it. So Rachel hit up a bunch of the DPs and was like, hey, let's have a neighborhood hang. And it was like,
did you get any good Fincher stories?
He didn't tell any Fincher stories. He talked about his visit and how he helped develop the Venice camera. Because he was like the person.
Wait, Claudio?
Claudio, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What was, big time. A big Nike spot or something. It was like his first time.
Well, I mean, he was like they hired him to help develop the camera and the science and stuff. And he's like one of the big reasons why there's single stop NDs, internal NDs. But he was telling stories about that. Yeah, it was just, crazy to just be a part of that.
Do you miss shooting film at all?
No.
Why not?
I mean, I would love to do it again, but
was it the anxiety?
I have enough anxiety.
Yeah, you hated that. You were a stress case. And you didn't need to be, but most DPs were. And honestly, as a director, I was, because in shooting film, you don't exactly know what you're seeing. Yeah, you think you're seeing it, but any number of things can happen until you start to see that pop up on that rank, right?
I mean, I love it, and it's a
rush.
By far the best looking medium out there.
Film.
Yeah.
35.
Yeah. I mean, I would do it again. Do I miss it? No, but I love what it looks like. It's by far the best thing.
You wouldn't shy away from it if a project called for it.
No, but I'm not like pushing it on. I mean, none of the shows that I'm doing would consider it anyways, but I'm not pushing it on anybody. I don't miss that anxiety.
Do you feel, honestly, as a DP, having rode that film bike, do you feel any amount of confidence that if that was the call upon you, you'd be like, yeah, it wouldn't even be a blank. You got it.
Yeah. I mean, of course, I would be nervous, sort of secretly and by myself the night before, but I do that anyways.
And what is it? What is it about that? What is it that you would be feeling? What is it? The nerves of?
This is insecurity.
Of what part? Getting exposed,
doing
right?
It right, yeah.
Or just knowing, because you can't see it as clearly,
Well, yeah, it's like I'm guilty of it, but most DPs are. I light off the monitor. That's our, the film stock is visible. It's in front of our faces and we can see what the contrast is. And I never really obsessed over like contrast ratios ever. I mean, it really is just like what you like and what you don't like as a cinematographer.
Well, I would imagine like cinematographers shooting film, right? Even a lot of my jobs, I could tell the DPs that came in with broad strokes to light the film. And then there was a few there, Jonathan Sella, Jeff Cutter. Those guys they would light film. Well, you started to put lights in intricate places, and it lifted the depth of that film versus just,
I think that came from a Kanji thing. He was always talking about lighting shadows, and I was like, or maybe it was Alan Davio. I mean, there's a lot of people talk about it, but the idea of like lighting a shadow, what does that mean? Yeah. I mean, I know what it means now, but I didn't know what it meant. I feel
like I got to say something because it's on my mind, but it's not the most uplifting thing. Because I was just going to say it, lighting it like big crash lighting.
Yeah, I thought of it too.
And my heart sank.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh God, here we are talking about.
I don't even know the guy. I get emotional just thinking about him.
Yes. Those who know what we're saying is Crash is a prolific DP that set a very distinct look, style, and how we shot music videos, high-end videos on film. And he tragically, I guess, 2 weeks ago or so, in a car wreck. So it was, but his style is so unique, so
100%.
on my mind in that those years of what music videos were. It was almost like I was saying him. I was like, oh my God.
I look at videos that he did 20 years ago. I still don't know how he did it. Like I would be like, I have no idea. Christina Aguilera video where she's wearing the sailor outfit, just beautiful. Hey, like just pristine lighting. Like the way it rolls into another color, like the colors that he chose and how he lit it, just in broad strokes. And you know how fast they were shooting.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know they had like 4 days to shoot a video where we were doing them in a day. But still.
Yeah, broad strokes meaning big lights that carry across a big
massive
spread.
Sets, but like perfect. Yeah. And I think Sella's been incredible, like to see. I mean, I'm just jealous of his career. He was always one that we obsessed over back in the day. Yes. And he's still doing it. I think jumped right into features and like he's continued that quality of lighting into big features, which is it's really hard to do.
Jonathan Sella is one of the artists I remember you vividly being like, yo, so what's
all the time.
So what would John,
it's like Crash is, we didn't talk about Crash that much, but we would talk about him because I was obsessed with those guys. I never got to see them. I never got to, they'd come through Nashville occasionally. I don't think Sella ever did. Not that I ever saw. So. But yeah, they were like they're the people that I get nervous around.
Yeah, like
still are.
The reason Probst, you and I loved him back in the, when he was doing those big 50 Cent videos or Justin Timberlake videos, it was like, how is he lighting such massive sets with really creamy lights?
Still have no idea.
It's like, how are you this soft? You have like, sky panels everywhere or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, it's
free sky panels.
Yeah, that is free sky. What is those? What were those called?
Sky pans?
Sky pans.
Yeah, sky pans. It's confusing.
I meant to say sky pans.
5K sky pans, maybe the round ones.
Yeah, the round ones.
Yeah. I remember lighting your Shinedown video. Was it the one with the I-beam structure?
If you only knew. Yes.
Yes. We had a Translight shipped in from LA.
How big was that?
Massive Translight. It was like 100, it was at least 120 feet wide. Shipped in from LA.
In 2 pieces.
And we lit it with so many sky pans.
I remember the back, if you were to go behind the lights, behind the thing, it looked like a baseball stadium.
Oh, it was crazy.
Because you had to, right?
Well, we had to just stop. I think it was just, I don't know what it was. I mean, I rely on my gaffers for those types of things.
We always had fads. You and I would have fads on jobs. We would be like, this job is going to be a this.
Yeah, 100%. I think that one was just because the distance. Like we needed as much floor space for the I-beam structure so that the drop had to be in a certain place. We only had so much room behind the drop. It's the same thing I deal with every day. Like now, I'm shooting a huge TV show right now, massive. And we are fighting for stage space. Like there's not enough space to light direct light. Like we have this 2-story massive lobby it's a law firm and these tiny windows and 15 feet outside to get hard light into a set that's 80 feet or 90 feet away.
So do you kind of try to,
we just literally like we're 3. No, I mean, we have,
that's soft and that's just atmosphere.
I mean, thankfully the cameras have got, exactly. We don't want that. I want window lights. So like every set that every show that I shoot, we have ceilings on.
Absolutely.
You don't you have to have ceilings. So I treat it like location. So I'm trying to bring as much light in from the window so it feels natural.
Wait, let's go back to that.
Yeah.
I want to pick that apart. I just sense a style thing. Ceilings, because you 100%. Don't want to be,
I don't get lazy. Yeah, artificial and lazy.
Because I mean, you wouldn't put. Would you in a set put a recessed light to hit a background in your mind? Even
on
though
location, like if I were shooting in this house here, we would rig stuff in your ceiling,
but not over the person and all that. You control.
Well, I mean, no, you would do like a light mat or light tile or something, whatever it is. Okay. But you're working within the space. It is really just like you're forced into a way of thinking when you shoot sets that have ceilings.
But are you getting comfortable? This was something you battled way back when. And I think almost every DP does. I mean, how do I come into a set and figure out is it real? Is it me? How do I, is it this?
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that now? I mean, is that
as far as like being comfortable?
Yeah. And knowing what you are creating is like what we're just talking about. You can make it, where the tone? Is it stepping on something too artificial? Is this in the more realistic situation? What tone is it giving you?
Oh, I mean, I battle it every day.
Okay.
Still.
Because that's just, there's no right or wrong. It's you determining.
Yeah. Like
you see, that's that we've been, that's the anxiety is like, what is the right? You are kind of, your creative relationship with your team is going to determine it, but they're waiting for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we work so fast in narrative, like TV. We shoot 2 cameras, 3 cameras sometimes, always 2, sometimes 3. And we've got like 15 or 20 minutes to set up, each setup. And then even then the director or AD is like, what's taking so long? You got a lot of people and the camera's moving and you got to set marks and make it look good. But every day I'm like, how do we make this look special and unique? Like, I don't want to just say, make it look like we did the other day. Sounds boring. Like even if it's the same time of day, like we have a conference room that we shoot a lot in because it's a lawyer's office and
be a cloudy day at 3 o'clock.
It's LA and it's like, Century City or Culver City. What's the city on the west side? Century City, I think.
Century.
Yeah. Like how many different looks can you do with a drop? Because we have a translite.
Light reflecting off of a building and coming in with.
We did one day. It was like a moody day. Ryan, it's a Ryan Murphy show, and Ryan was directing the episode that I shot, and he was like, "I want it to be moody." He told me the night before, so I came in and I made it moody, and I was like, "This looks dark." And he's like, "I thought I told you I wanted it dark," and he wanted it darker, and he was like, "Darker," and I did it, and he's like, "Darker," and did it darker, and I was like, "Oh my god, it looks like nighttime," but it looks so beautiful. It's so pretty. Like he pushed me into like this dusky. Like stormy LA look, and it looks even with our sunny blue translate, it looks pretty cool. But every day I talk to the gaffer. I keep stills in my phone of favorites. Like every day I get dailies, obviously emailed to me.
Yeah.
And I pick my favorites, and hopefully that week, like the week goes by, and hopefully I've put some stills into the folder. Otherwise, the week feels like a loss. Because there are some weeks where I'm just like, I didn't put any favorites.
But that's kind of like what we did back in the old telecine days. Remember the film stores? We'd see everything.
Oh yeah,
I see, and even your website. It's just the stills. Like it's part of what.
I think that yes.
So again, it's part of our obsession with the frame. You of all people as DPs, I'm not DP, but you have to get obsessed with the corners, right? And you can tell from your work. Everything is controlled and designed.
So like I put all my favorites into a folder, and I can open the folder and I can make it, squeeze it down so it's a grid. So there's like 3 across, and I can quickly see like how the show looks. I can see if it's consistent, if it stands out, if the frames are good, and yeah, it feels like a loss if a week goes by and I don't put stills in there. But I use that every day. I'm always constantly looking at my phone, checking the frames and just looking at like what I'm doing and seeing if it's sort of elevates what we're doing, the show, and also fits into the same space. That's just a process that I go through. Like,
do you see your dailies right whenever they are ready to go out? Are you a part of that list?
They email me first, typically stills, and then get my approval. And if I like it, then it goes wide to everybody, like the network and studio and executives.
And once the old ASC says it's stamped, it's stamped.
I just look at stills though. I don't really watch video stills and video dailies.
It's kind of the old school days, remember?
I mean, yeah, it's like we don't have time. We shoot 4 hours of footage a day. I'm not going to watch 4 hours of dailies.
Do you miss videos at all? I mean,
God, no.
Please hesitate next time.
No, not one bit.
No,
not one bit.
Yeah, you're enjoying the good. I mean, you set out to do exactly what you're doing, and you're killing it. I mean, has there been a moment when you on set, or what moment was there? What was the moment when you realized, like, okay, cool, I'm moving into the lane I want to be in? Because it was,
hasn't happened.
Okay,
I don't think it ever happens.
Where do you want to head? What is the dream?
I have no
Where
idea.
Are we going?
I don't know.
Our movie.
I don't know. I mean, it's funny because I had a dream when I was like 18 years old. I was working at the wave pool.
The one over at down.
Yeah, Two River
on
right off Opera Mills. Yeah,
Riley.
I set a goal then. I was like, I want to direct my first feature by the time I'm 25, and 25 came and went, and I hadn't directed a feature, and pretty disappointing. Not to say you shouldn't have goals.
Sure.
You should have goals. But it wasn't a very realistic goal, I don't think. And I don't know. I mean, I want to do everything. I want to shoot it all.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like I almost jinx myself if I say it out loud.
Don't.
Yeah.
I believe in the jinxing, but I mean, is there a,
I'd also be fine quitting and just building houses.
well, you have built what?
I mean, like
two houses.
There's
you
a part
built,
of my
2 or
life
3?
where I'm just like, I got a kid now.
Oh shit, you fly planes too. You not doing that
I haven't done
anymore?
that in a long time now.
Yeah, don't get in a plane.
Yeah.
Have you, there's one thing, I mean, it's not always the greatest thing to talk about, but like, I do remember when I took when I was at that ASC masterclass, and I noticed something about some of the DPs that I was chatting with candidly afterwards and stuff like that. And a lot of them had this kind of, they struggled with the home, the personal life.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's worth talking about in the DP land because it's similar to directors, but I have so many DP friends because I'm like a DP's director, and it's difficult in your work for a lot of reasons. One, you don't want to get out of rotation. I mean, that's been something we've talked about since the music video days. Oh, yeah. I'm sure it's the same thing in the heavy 100%. Hitter days. I mean,
I've been lucky. I haven't 100%. I don't want to work away from home.
Yeah, you're being gone for months on end. You are on your phone. You're leaving to go down to Long Beach to be there at 6. You're gone the full day. I mean, and a lot of these DPs, really huge DPs, struggle with being gone and lack of their connection with their family. Is that something that you are we talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
Is that something you just keep in the forefront of your mind as you now have a beautiful little daughter and a family?
Yeah. I mean, nobody's going to call and get me away from my family right now. Nobody. Now, I will go out of my way to get my family to come with me.
How does Italy sound? Florence sound good for 3 months?
If somebody huge called. But if they couldn't, I wouldn't. Like, that's bottom line. It's pretty easy for me to say. Like, I've been lucky. I mean, like, I can't say that most, like, it's rare. Like,
yeah.
Somehow I've been able to stay in LA and work. I don't know how that's possible. Even now when the work is like almost all but dried up.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. I read something the other day where the work is like less than it was during the strike. Yeah.
Holy
The shows being shot in LA, there's fewer now than there were being like during the strike. I don't know how that's possible. So much of it's gone overseas. It's going to Europe. It's going to, Canada. It's been a thing for a long time, but I just keep getting shows in LA, and I have turned down a few things, like especially like right before Eloise was born. I turned down a couple episodes that was going to take me away from the house right before she was born, and I didn't want to risk the chance of missing her birth. Now, yeah, not at this point. Like, yeah, will it change when she's 8 or 10 or 12? I don't know. I can't tell you. I can't tell you for sure. I don't plan on it. I want to be around. I want to be, a present father. One of the first times I got to go to the ASC, that's always been a thing on my mind. Like, how do you keep a family? Because it's crazy. Like, they're always gone. Always. I mean, I hate it. It sucks.
And not only are you gone, you're invested. You're so in every aspect of prep and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't get those escapes that maybe a director might, or another. Just the DPs they deal with it pretty heavy. I
was just talking to a DP that is away currently on a job away from his family, and he was like telling me his routine and how being away was like the hardest job he had done at that point, with being away from his family. But it was a little easier because he could go home and like to his hotel or wherever he was staying and like work and prep for the next day. And I was like, prep for the next day? What? He's like, what are you talking about? You don't do that? I was like, no, I don't go home and prep for the next day. That's where videos and SNL and Drunk History, like working on the fly and like without any prep, without any knowledge of what we're going to do, has prepped me to this day. Like, do I leave it at the door? No. it still comes with me. There are nights where I don't sleep. There are, like things that stress me out, especially on this job. That's, but I don't like open my laptop and work at, 10 p.m. Like as soon as the work's done, I'm done. I don't work on the weekends. I'm not a big fan of personal time, like working during personal time. That's where I'm at in my career.
Hey,
and
that's
it's easy for me. And
but it's something you had to learn, right? I mean, these are things
yeah,
that people
100%.
you've
Like
talked to.
I'm confident enough. I can go to set. I know exactly what I'm doing for the day, and I'm going to be great. No, you're never going to notice this is a thing that I do, but this is where I'm at in my life. I do my prep before, like I said, so much of our look is built in the beginning. It's sort of the reason why, like, a lot of people don't know this, but there are multiple DPs on shows. It's not just one DP shooting an entire show. Like, you're lucky if that happens. Usually the only way that happens is if, like, Ben Stiller directed all of Escape of Denimora and his DP shot all the episodes. So there's like cross-border the whole season. But usually it's a bunch of different directors and a couple different DPs. And the way that's possible is once the look is built, it's like a train, like it's going. You've got a style, you got a way of working. Your gaffer knows how you're lighting, like what instruments you're using, what stops you're shooting at, like your color palette's been built. There have been days where, like just recently, our gaffer stepped up and shot, and his stuff, it looks great. And it looks like our show. And that's not because I rely on him and he does the job. It's like, we've just been able to like set a look, and there's another DP that's shooting, and her work is, she brings her style to the show, but it also like fits within the same style of that we established. So basically where I'm going with that is I can step away, and I have stepped away. Like there was a time, a moment where they scheduled a scene the following day, a scene from an episode that I was shooting that wasn't previously scheduled. And it was like the end of the day. And I was like, I can't shoot that scene. Like, I've got a child and my partner's in Mexico City. Yeah. I don't have my nanny's not available. So I had to go be a dad, and I just didn't shoot that scene. And I asked the other DP to do it. And like, that's where we should be. Yeah. Like, this is freaking television. Sorry. Like, I am obsessed with what I do, and I love what I do, and I want to control every aspect of what I do. Yeah. But will kill yourself and kill your family. Like, we have to let go of that a little bit. Sure. We have to be able to be okay with, like, somebody's going to shoot that scene, and it's going to be fine.
It's going to live. Yeah.
It's going to be fine.
Now, do you feel like because of that, do you have a preference? Like, is TV and something that is more conducive to where you're at right now than like a movie? A feature?
100%. I mean, because
you're out for
movies are gone. Yeah, you're gone for good or for a while. But also the movie industry is like in terrible shape right now. Like, it's so hard. At least the films that I would be, up for, they fall apart all the time.
I've been hearing that.
You commit to a show, you turn down other shows, and then they're like, "Oh, cool, our schedule's passed or pushing for 2 months because of our actor availability or whatever." And you're just like, "Well, I just pushed up."
Yeah, I just pushed my job.
Shows. Yeah. They fall apart all the time. It's just like a volatile business. Where TV is like, once they say they're going, they're going. They might push a week.
Okay. Now can you squeeze in spots, commercials?
I have in the past, but like what we're saying, like out of sight, out of mind. Most of my directors aren't available, or like have their DPs because I'm never available. So. Okay.
Yeah. But you don't think like an agent or something like that pushing you for the spots?
That's the thing. They haven't done anything.
I mean, that's,
I have a couple of directors that I'll, text when I'm available, but yeah, like I did a spot right before this 2 shows ago. I did a spot and then went to work, and I haven't stopped on TV for 7 months.
Do you feel like you've locked into your style, or are you still trying to? I know you're trying to make every project different and unique, but do you feel like you're confident now? I feel that way in my work, where I feel like I have a position now where maybe I was wondering in my mind and all that insecurities of where's my direction? What am I, and I like right now I feel like, okay, I know where I know it. I got it. Now it feels good. Do you feel like you're in that control seat of your craft?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, I like where I'm at. Mm-hmm. And like, it goes back to the same thing, sort of lighting styles. Like, my style hasn't changed much. It's just the projects that I'm doing. You look at like Deacon's work, his style is very similar across the board. It's the projects that change. It's the production designs, and it's the locations and the actors that you get to put in front of your camera that change. So I like where I'm at with my style, but I would also like my style to go into a different space, meaning like the quality of the style of work that I'm doing, or the type of shows that I'm doing.
Okay.
Could change, and I'd be fine with that.
Bigger scenes, bigger. Like, in what way are you thinking? Because more production. I don't know. I'm thinking. I'm just trying to rattle out like 10,000 Mustangs running through a field. You're on a you're on a shot maker rushing through. And
yeah. So like, I want to get out of shooting coverage.
Explain.
So basically, how I broke comedies down is, and anybody will tell you that this is how pretty much it is. You just capture the words. Like, you have to film the words. So just like medium shot, a wide shot to show you where you're at. But there's no time for camera moves. There's no time for like, unless the actor's moving, go with them. But there's no time for like telling the story with the camera, because it'll just get cut out.
Blocking, and
it's a 20-minute edit. Yeah. So you're just shooting coverage. I'm tired of shooting coverage. Like, I want to really work with the director and tell a story with the camera, because right now we're just telling stories with actors' words. The shows that I'm on.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's sort of how I kept myself going really in this world. It's like, I got into Drunk History, and that was an insane opportunity and, great show to be a part of. And then I just got stuck shooting comedies.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which I always want to shoot comedies. I don't want to give those up. They're so great. They're just like so great for your soul.
Yeah, no,
you're always laughing. It's like
come on,
people are having fun and they're nice, but you just shoot coverage. But to keep my brain occupied and entertained, I would obsess over the lighting. I would obsess over the color. That's what I could do as a cinematographer. I couldn't do much with my movements, the camera movements. So I would just focus on what I could do instead of like complaining about it and sitting around and like griping and just like showing up to work and just being like, turn the lights on, which I never want to be. I looked for the opportunity and tried to do something, and it's
but people started to respond to that.
Yeah.
But it's Ben Stiller. I mean, what did you do with
Big Time in Hollywood, Florida? It was a show that he produced. Yeah.
I remember the stills you were showing me. I was like, you're like, I don't know, the fluorescent lights in the garage. Or something.
I had such a blast in that show. I wish like this Blake could shoot that show. I don't know what would be different, but I just had such a fun time then, and like I'm just like I want to do that again, because that was like the filmmakers were so young and like just. Not naive, because they were super, super smart, like really smart guys. It was just like this craft process, like just we kind of don't know what we're doing. Let's just figure it out and like make something fun and work with these awesome actors. And I love that.
Is there a space for you in television, in where you're at, where you can get lock into maybe a show that has more camera composition? Does that live in your space?
Probably not right now. Okay, because I would say most of those shows are probably shot somewhere else. Okay. They're location based or night exteriors.
Sure, you're really in the trenches.
You know what I'm saying?
Doing back to back night shoots, and
right now I think where I'm at is the best spot. And don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about any part of my career.
Yes,
I'm very happy with where I'm at. But we always have to like strive for
absolutely.
What's the next step? What keeps us going? What makes you go? You know what I'm saying? Like. If I was happy with where I am, then I would probably not do this anymore.
Yeah. Something as we come to close, I wanted to ask you, like, you said it early on, like, I didn't know I had any effect on you early on.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I just thought you and I were friends and inward nerds, cinema nerds, and we just did us. And I do know, and I even mentioned it to Potsy. I felt proud, but then at some point I felt like, oh God, I hope it was because I remember having a conversation with you And I remember having a conversation with him, and I'm like, you need to go do your directing, and you need to get your ass, go be a big ass DP. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't know if our work affected you in a way that was just like you learned, or
For the most part, my
with you.
memory is the color aspect of
Mm.
it. Like I never saw color until
Mm.
I worked with you.
Oh, that's cool.
It to the level of detail that you did.
Yeah.
Like we'd go into the suite and you would say something with magenta or green or something. And I'm like, what? And then, the colorist would do it. And I'm like, oh yeah, of course that looks better. Like I could say, yeah, like, and it was almost thing like I just never dissected it.
Sure.
I had no one to ever tell me that's what needed to be done or it could be done, or I just had no background. I didn't take cinematography classes. I just sort of started shooting. And yeah, the level of detail is like, how are you seeing these colors?
Mm.
And then once you start looking for them,
They're right in front of you.
yeah, like my daughter picked up a rock the other day and she called it a pink rock. And I was like, yeah, it is pink. It sort of appeared off-white to me.
Sure.
She saw the level of detail. She sees the level of detail immediately. My brain doesn't latch on to, like I say, this warm light is making this look warmer, she saw it for what it was. I saw it in some cooler light. So it didn't look pink initially.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's clearly pink.
What would you say your biggest strength is as a DP? Like one of your things that you just really rely on that in your soul is like, it's that. Let me do that. Let me be that.
Oof, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say it's color, although I'm obsessed with that.
Well, maybe it's your obsessive nature to not quit, to not let it be, to not settle.
I'll definitely not settle. And I'll tell
exactly.
I'll tell a producer that. And like, I'll just be like,
I'm answering it for you, but
sorry, I'm going to probably get on your nerves at first, but I will push it until you tell me to stop.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be rude about it, but I'm going to tell you how much something's important to me until you tell me to stop.
Well, I'm pretty stoked that I'm the catalyst for all this color going into your big, Hollywood world.
Yeah, you just finessed color that took it to a different level. Because even now, colorists do these things that I have no idea what they're doing. I watched something the other day. I was just like, what? How is that possible?
It's getting beautiful.
Give me the image, give me Photoshop, and there's no way I will never get anywhere near this level. I mean, obviously, they've spent 30 years, 30 years of their careers finessing that style of what they do, their brain, controlling the things and like what the tricks are. But like, you can just like tweak this image that is just so unique.
I remember that about you, man. You would get home and I was jealous because you would be looking at frames, but dialing in Photoshop color palettes. And then you'd bring those into the color grade.
Yeah, I'm still kind of the same way. Like I still have to do it myself.
That's
like
great.
Even with lighting, I'm just like, I don't really know what I want here. Sometimes the gaffer's just like, this is frustrating. Like, and it's gotten easier now because everything's digital. You're talking about putting lights everywhere. Like there's always a couple of LED lights that are ready to go. They're already programmed in. And we even just started implementing like an iPad on our set, like the week before we wrap for Christmas, so that we can start controlling it at our DIT station. Cause he's kind of always with me there instead of calling it in to the board op. But there's always just like an Astera tube or a little Nix thing or something, whatever. I don't know the names of these things. They're all, I call them like Q10s and P4s and all these stupid, I don't know. I can't keep up with the names.
As a DP, do you need to know all the lights?
No, I mean, no, absolutely not. God, no.
Maybe tell that as we, because I know there's a lot of folks out there that get so intimidated by being a great DP and what it takes baby steps and you can't chintz on those. Like you took the route of film school to just beating down the set etiquette. You learned on set how to be a DP, really, right? I feel like
on my sets.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to see any other DPs. Like I didn't get to work with other DPs. I didn't watch other DPs work. Like that's I just skipped that process. So it was me figuring it out, wanting to succeed and also not fail at the same time. I was given these huge opportunities to shoot these videos here in Nashville, and I wanted to like test the limits, but I also didn't because I wanted to get hired again. So it was like we're this weird middle ground, you know. We were shooting film, so I could kind of lie. I remember lying a couple of times. You're like, to somebody who was like, it's a little dark. It's gonna be bright. I was just a video tap, knowing quite well that it was like
You're like
the way I wanted it to look. But I just lied to him. I was like,
okay.
it'll be no. I was like, it's gonna be better. And then like, what's gonna happen? You know? What were you saying? Sorry.
Just the is there a path, you know?
Oh, right.
Just something that, you know, like you don't have to be a DP and know every light. You
Oh
have
God,
a
no.
crew.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Just recently, I talked to Scott Cunningham, and he had shot a commercial with Myers, or maybe not. I don't know my facts, but he had to shoot film, and he didn't feel like he came up through the film route, so he hired an operator or something that could give him that area. And what did he learn afterwards? I can do it myself. Like,
Yeah.
okay, all right. He just needed that first time, so he learned it. You know, for you, you've probably learned a litany of things. You know,
No,
I
I
love
don't
hearing
think
you
about.
say, I don't know what that light is.
I don't.
I
I
love
don't.
hearing that.
I just say, is it going to be bright enough? Do I have option to bring it bright? I literally ask, and so like, what I want to know is what the levels of our lights are, so I can change my minds last second, which I always do.
Now, does that make you nervous going into like a prep? Like if you're on a travel job and now you got to be like, we're going off target, and see, like it takes an hour, and I'm like riffing to go, but like. As a director, I want to do this, and this. Okay, cool. You're in Indiana, and now you're like, I need to get this light, or do you just resort to your gaffer?
No, I rely on the gaffer and just be like, I want it to be bright enough for this and be able to change the color, basically. I don't want to make a decision. That's the part of that I don't prep. Like, and we've gotten to a point in our lives as cinematographers where we don't have to, we can sort of work intuitively. I can, at least. I can show up on the day and I can be like, what inspires me? What do I want to do? What's my mood? If I don't feel good, like I might make it moodier. I'm serious. It happens.
I love hearing it.
It's amazing. But I don't have to decide, weeks in advance. Clearly we've made this prep. We've prepped the look.
You're not
of the
showing
show.
up at
It's
a
not
blind.
like, like it's because TV's different. TV, you prep it all in advance. And then sort of like I said, it's the moving train. But you can make little subtle adjustments day to day to keep your, self occupied and experimenting. And I do that every day. Like what's today
for all the young inspiring DPs coming up? I feel like, they have YouTube, podcasts, Instagram. They got so many avenues to learn and to test out their, it feels like a different, era than maybe when you came up. Can you explain?
Crazy. Yeah, I was like at the very beginning of all that, maybe the end of the end of the film era.
Mm-hmm.
I shot 150 videos or so, and most of those are on film. Yeah. We only shot a few on those digital. A few of those on digital. But yeah, the young cinematographers are so like incredible.
Scary.
Especially, it's so exciting to me to see all the DPs in Nashville. It's so exciting. Like when I was here, there's only a few. There was like Roger Pistol, who's still relevant and awesome, and his work's incredible. Who else?
Dustin Lane.
He wasn't a DP when I was here. He was my DIT on
Charlie's
commercial.
I remember that O'Charlie's
He's
commercial.
the best DP that's come out of Nashville.
Absolutely.
I
can't say that.
He's amazing.
But he is amazing. And I do enjoy seeing him and Nick Allen.
Nick's
really
work's
doing
amazing.
some old school music video film styles that I remember, not just shot on film. No. They're shooting it how we shot it back in the day.
Yeah.
Like really just.
Tyler Oakes is another name comes to mind.
He was on the podcast.
Dude, these guys are like, and I told him this when I met him. We met for coffee a year or two ago, and he just started, and like his stuff looks amazing. I'm like, how did you? It took me 10 years to get to that point.
What do you think that is?
I have no idea.
Do you think
I don't know if it's like.
Well,
I don't know.
How long did it take you to use the iPhone? But yet, my son can get on it.
Yeah,
and
probably.
Is it because they're growing up in this, and so they're inundated with that know-how?
I mean, it has to be the advent of digital. It has to be. So like basically it's the brush, like everybody has access to it now.
Mm-hmm.
So the competition's gotten greater, and like there are more artists in the world because everybody can do it. It's not film. It's not expensive. like, that's the thing. You look at cinema, and there are movies that stand up that are just better now than they have ever been.
Absolutely.
And still like the best cinematography in the world, like from a movie that's 50 years ago.
Would you say that's technology?
No, I'm just saying like that's the brilliance, the brain behind that. But there's so many like mediocre films. But now it's just the lane has just gotten much wider. And
Okay.
it's like we're seeing so much of the good stuff. Like Instagram is a platform for presentation, and like there's just so much good work. How are they doing it? I honestly I have no idea.
Does it mess
So
with your
jealous.
brain at all, or are you comfortable in that knowing? I mean,
No,
like
I mean,
someone told me, Ryan, there are 10,000 other photographers just as, if not better than you.
Yeah.
It
drives me crazy.
Yeah, you're like, they are.
I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm like, still feel like I haven't gotten started. I swear to you. I feel like I'm still in the beginning of my career. It's how I feel. I don't know. Maybe it's like you're old. You don't feel like you're getting old. You feel like you're 18 still. It's the same
keeps
thing.
You pushing.
But at the same time, I'm like, I'm coming to the end of my career. How much more time do I have? So I have like this conflicting, like
youngsters.
I think it's because I'm a Gemini. I have like these dual personalities,
Yeah.
But yeah, like because I see these youngsters, I'm like, this is insane. Like, why would you hire me over this person? This person's work's incredible. I'm part of the ASC mentorship program, and I feel like the mentees that I have are like, their work's better than mine. Like, this is so crazy. I'm like, you don't need me mentoring. I'll tell you how TV works.
The funny thing, the side note, explain how my dear friend, your friend, our dear friend, Scott Cunningham, Chris Probst, didn't you play a hand in Scott getting into the ASC?
I wrote a letter.
Yeah. And Scott loves, he says how flattered he was that you did that for him.
Oh, it was amazing. Like I've always been part of what I love the most about my job, my platform, is being able to hand it down, like to give it back, basically. Mm-hmm. So like hiring within the department, like if there's AC that wants to bump up to operating wants to be a DP.
That's cool.
Like gaffer wants to be a DP. Like that is like the coolest feeling to be able to give that away. And I do. It's like, what can I do to help you in your life?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really have that. I had a lot of people helping me, but I didn't have a cinematographer saying like, you should do this. You should do this.
Yeah.
So I try to do that as much as possible. And like part of the ASC is like, same thing. It's like, who can I get in the AC? Basically the way it works is I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it, if I'm allowed to talk about it. You have to write letters.
Yeah.
Like,
you have to
get 3 letters.
Yeah. From
ASC members to suggest you for membership. And Scott might have been my first one, actually. I was so proud because I was like, he just got in and he got nominated for the very first music video award competition.
Of course.
And I was like, yes.
It's
Because
awesome.
there's not many music video DPs,
exactly.
in the ASC, which is crazy to think about. Because it's such a huge, it's an art form.
And now you got Probst writing lens books. I'm so glad he got that out.
Get
that monster out of his
blows
body.
my mind. I don't know how he does it. I'm jealous, but it's like me and running marathons. I'll never run a marathon. I'll never be Chris Probst. I'll never be that smart. I'll never be like genius. His brain. His just like, yeah.
There's only one Chris Probst.
It's a whiz. Yeah, he's so smart. His lighting is just impeccable.
Impeccable is exactly what I would
But
say.
anyways, young DPs now are like blowing my mind. That's really cool to see. And I'm very proud of like Nashville DPs. That makes me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
they're coming to LA
nobody
soon.
knows me, and I don't really know them, but like
they do. Oh yeah,
it's cool to see, and I'm very proud of it, and I talk about it all the time in LA.
Yeah, that's cool. If you had to look back, what was the biggest thing you learned that had to make you shift into TV? Was there something you had? I learned that I really don't need agents. I learned that. I need to be on set more to learn. I need to be on set to see how this TV thing works. Is there something that kind of like resonates in the transition years? When you moved to LA and you're transitioning from music videos or long, you're just trying to break into that next level. Is there something that was?
I mean, things that I've learned, like you have to shoot fast. When camera movement and eye lines become a thing, lighting is completely different. You're not just lighting a frame like a still photography or like a fashion shot. Mm-hmm. You're lighting for faces moving. It's a completely different thing. Like if a person's sitting at a desk, that's one deal. But if somebody's walking across the room and the camera's got a track and it's got a this and this, you're like, oh, where am I going? That's the puzzle. So the speed, television, the speed is very different. Working with multiple cameras, the director doesn't sit with the DP. That's really bizarre. It's so weird.
Where does he sit?
I mean, maybe I
know nothing about TV, so this is what
they've gotten separated. I don't know. It started happening on the comedies because they're like, the director's usually with the writer. And you sort of like get stuck with the DIT. Like you can put yourself on set, but like, you're usually at the monitors and it's just become a segregated world.
You're just worrying about your thing.
So weird. It's so bizarre. That part I don't like, really.
A lot to learn.
I mean, I've learned a ton.
I'm looking at it.
I've learned a ton and I still have no idea what I'm doing. I should
spoken like a true DP, constantly riddled with anxieties and doubts.
It doesn't go away.
Same thing as directors.
It doesn't go away.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time. I really, really do. I'm glad we were able to squeeze this in. Now you got to go get back to that beautiful family of yours, man.
Yeah, man. Thank
you so much, Bubba.